It's Monday, July 13th, 2020. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're covering on today's episode of the show. In a series of surprising announcements, Ubisoft has confirmed that they're parting ways with some major executives after several allegations and accusations of abuse and harassment. We've also got some great guests on the show, like the one and only Dan Fogler. You know him from Walking Dead and Fantastic Beasts, but we'll also be discussing his podcast and graphic novel releases. Plus, we'll have our own Ronan Glahn on the show to talk about some of the latest automotive news, including the impending release of the new Ford Bronco. He'll give us the details about it. And we'll be joined by YouTube star and content creator Darcy Giles, aka Miss Darcy, to talk about her shows and ways that followers can help sustain and support social activism for the long term. All of that and more on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Yes, hello everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and again, thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We broadcast live here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and so much more. So hit subscribe, share the show, but let's get you started with some trending news right now. And we're going once again to TikTok. TikTok making a lot of news for a lot of reasons, but here's the latest announcement of organizations who are talking about possibly banning or not using that platform out of privacy concerns. And this comes from not only the Democratic National Committee, but also the Republican National Committee, both simultaneously warning their campaigns, people who work on their campaigns, about using TikTok and to use additional security precautions if they are going to be using it. So this is, again, coming on the heels of a number of different organizations who have been talking about concerns over TikTok. There's concerns that the U.S. government may actually ban it from the United States, or at least they're looking into that. India has already banned it. A number of other countries have also talked about different things in association with the privacy of TikTok. Now, TikTok did respond, and their response was, "We are fully committed to protecting our users' privacy and security under the leadership of our American CEO, along with our Chief Information Security Officer and Head of Safety. TikTok's growing U.S. team works diligently to develop a best-in-class security infrastructure." And they continue on talking about different ways that they believe that they are actually combating that and making sure that privacy is a concern. Now, this also, another announcement with TikTok was that Wells Fargo has instructed their employees who installed TikTok on company devices to remove the app because of those privacy concerns. So we see a lot of things going on with this. There's a lot of discussion about whether or not privacy is a concern when it comes to TikTok, who is in control of it. Of course, the speculation is that some of the data goes back to the Chinese government. But again, there's a lot of information out there, some pro, some against, some true, some false. And so it's a lot to kind of handle when it comes to this. But as far as the information that's right now, these are organizations that are talking about not using TikTok because of those security concerns. I will say we've got a podcast called Trends with Benefits that airs on Tuesdays, where we're going to kind of break down TikTok a little bit more and talk about what these issues are and what is being done about them. But as of right now, definitely go to digitaltrends.com to read more about that. Continuing on here with trending news, let's talk about Tesla over the weekend making some news because the Model Y has dropped in price. Now, Teslas are not cheap vehicles, but this is another sign of what Tesla's doing to try to make sure that sales continue, and this is dropping the Model Y. Now, that's the SUV, the one that came out, was announced last year. It started rolling out to customers in March of this year, March of 2020. Now they've got it down below $50,000, so it is going to be listed now at $49,990, but that's $3,000 less than what it was before. Again, this is making a bunch of news over the weekend because they did already lower the prices on some of their other vehicles as well. The Model S and the Model X were both lowered, but this Model Y is now down under $50,000, and you're seeing that kind of on the heels of a lot of other companies that are lowering prices to make sure that auto sales are going on, despite the fact that we're in a pandemic. So that was making some news this weekend. You can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. And continuing on here, let's talk about Ubisoft. We've got a couple of different things to discuss with them, but first off, we're going to talk about the announcements regarding some of their executives. Now, Ubisoft has been one of many companies who is having reckoning with some scandals that have been going on. So this was a result of an investigation into sexual misconduct at the company, also allegations of harassment and abuse. And here is what the result of that is. The Chief Creative Officer, Serge Hascoët, who is the Managing Director of Ubisoft's Canadian branch, and the Managing Director of Ubisoft's Canadian branch, Jonas Mollet, have both resigned. So to put that into context, those are very powerful people when it comes to Ubisoft as far as the creative side of things. And they both resigned. That goes in also with the global head of HR. She has also resigned. So 3 major executives, and these announcements were made on Saturday through into Sunday, depending on where you were at. but definitely some big moves right there. As far as that company and how they operate. So Serge Hasquet, just to give a little bit of context, Chief Creative Officer, so that's really behind all of the major releases and games that Ubisoft does. A big step there from Ubisoft in regards to those allegations. So you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on, let's talk about Ubisoft a little bit more because they did have an event that happened on Sunday, and that was Ubisoft Forward, an event that we were looking forward to for a while, hoping to get some new games, maybe some new releases, maybe some new gameplay footage, and we got a little bit of all of that. So here's just a couple of the highlights from it, and there was a long event. We've got all the details at the website at Digital Trends, but a couple of highlights. Valhalla, something that a lot of people had wanted to see was actual gameplay footage. They showcased the trailers before. There was some leaked footage that they were very upset about and had that taken down. Now, though, we got to see what the actual gameplay footage looks like, and for those who are fans of Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Origins, it looks fairly similar to that as far as the actual gameplay style. They have changed it up, though, a little bit more to where you're building a base in it. Again, pretty cool footage to actually see what it's going to look like. And so Valhalla is going to be coming out in November of this year, and presumably it will also be ready for the new consoles that are coming out, the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. Now, we got to see that, Valhalla. Another thing that was also spoiled, and then Ubisoft had to say, okay, yeah, this is coming, was the release of Far Cry 6. Now, Far Cry series is very, very popular when it comes to Ubisoft's games, and this one is pretty interesting because they're actually using a very famous actor to play the role of the villain. If you know the Far Cry series, they focus on the villain a lot. That's who you're going up against. You're playing kind of a lone wolf type of character who goes against whoever the villain is. Well, this is Giancarlo Esposito, who is playing the villain in this one. It's a tropical island called Yara. The Far Cry series always has, they make up countries and islands and different things like that. This one is one that's under civil unrest, clearly, and they showcase this trailer of where it's going to start all off. So it looks very good as far as the graphics. Again, that's animated right there. That's Giancarlo Esposito. That's Gus Fring. So that's what's going to be happening with that one. We didn't get to see any gameplay footage, but that'll be coming out in February of next year. So just a couple of things there from Ubisoft as we bring you up to date with what the trending news is. Let's go on to this. Google is expected to be releasing something here today. Actually, this is Monday, July 13th. They put out a teaser saying that something special is coming. We think it's in association with the Google Nest speaker that was leaked. Again, another leak, and then they showcased a quick video of it last week. That was on Thursday when they said that they had the new Nest speaker coming. It is kind of a different shape. But now this series of ads have gone up with Fred Armisen kind of playing Portlandia-style characters, and they said that this is going to be part of whatever this something special is in association with what this release is going to be. Now, there's a lot of speculation. It could be the Nest speaker itself. It could be some kind of new assistant feature where there's different voices that can be utilized because it shows him asking all kinds of different things. We don't know for sure, but that is something that you can read more about there at digitaltrends.com, and we will keep you up to date with whatever it is that Google does announce. And finally, for trending news, let's go way back. We're talking about Empire Strikes Back, and that is what is trending right now because of the fact that The Empire Strikes Back is going to lead the box office this weekend because of drive-ins. Now, naturally, movie theaters are closed in many places worldwide, including the United States, but here we do have a lot of these pop-up drive-ins and actual drive-ins that do still exist that are showcasing movies, Empire Strikes Back being one of them, and it's expected to bring in a total of around $400,000 to $500,000 over this last weekend. That's at 483 locations. So it's a big move. Empire Strikes back there again for the first time. It was number one in May 21st, 1980 for 8 weeks when it was released. It also had a 2-week run later on for a re-release and then another release in 97, but this bringing it back into the news again, The Empire Strikes Back. The number one movie at the box office. Other ones raking in some money were Ghostbusters, Jaws, Jurassic Park, all movies being showcased at drive-ins, but you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's now time for the product of the day.
All right, our product of the day is the Echovex D-Bot 500 robot vacuum cleaner with max power suction. So here is what we are talking about. It's a robot vacuum. I mean, there it is. You see it right there. Now, here are some pretty interesting things with this. Some great features. It can last up to 110 minutes. It can handle hard floors or carpets, so it can tackle everything. It can tackle pet hair. Big deal right there. It's got the app that you can control it on. It's self-charging, so when it feels like it's running out of battery, it'll go back there and charge itself before going on. It's nice and quiet. One of the things that they highlight with this is the fact that it can be quiet. It does have that max power mode, so it says it can increase suction power by up to 2 times for particularly troublesome messes. I don't know what a troublesome mess is, but it will suck it up twice as much. So that is some of the things, some of the features there. It's pretty great. So this is, again, this is the Ecovacs D-Bot 500 robot vacuum cleaner with max power suction. And the way you can take advantage of that deal is by going through that link that's right below me, or depending on when and where you're watching this, there's another link that you can click to follow through. That way you'll get all the details on it, and you'll get all the special things you can get with this. Now, right now, this thing is $120 off. It's normally $279.99. It's on sale for $159.99. Take advantage of that right there at that deal. All right, that is our product of the day. Now, we need to get to a break because we've got our guest who's going to be joining us here next. Really excited to have Dan Fogler on the show, and we're going to talk about all kinds of things. So that's coming up next. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hey, welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Again, thanks for joining us here every single weekday. We are here bringing you trending tech news and interviews, and we get to have discussions that you want to be a part of, and I am really excited about our next guest who is joining us. Now, you know him from The Walking Dead, Fantastic Beasts, Balls of Fury, but he is also a graphic novelist, and he's got a podcast. We're going to discuss a little bit of all that right now. We've got joining us Dan Fogler. Dan, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
I want to start right off and talk about these. What's that?
Oh, I guess we have like a kind of a delay here. I'm in the UK.
Oh, you're in the UK right now. Okay, yeah, we're maybe like a second off. That's about it. But otherwise, we should be pretty good. Okay, I want to ask you about the graphic novel to start off with, because the fact is this: you got Brooklyn Gladiator, Fishkill, Moon Lake, but being released on Heavy Metal Comics, like iconic Heavy Metal Comics. Talk to us about like what got you into graphic novels in the first place.
Heavy Metal Comics. What's crazy is like it's so surreal because that was the first magazine I ever picked up. My brother had his collection of comic books, and I was the younger brother, and I was like, I want to get into comic books, and that looks oversized, you know. So I pulled it out, and it was, it was Heavy Metal Magazine. I was like, oh, this should have some, nice big pictures in it, and it had some very pictures that definitely, stayed with me for a long time, and inspired a lot of my my work afterward, especially Heavy Metal the movie. I don't. Have you ever seen Heavy Metal the movie? Did I lose you?
We're cutting out just a little bit, but you asked if I've seen Heavy Metal the movie. Yes, I have, and I kind of wanted to ask about that too, if that was also part of the inspiration along these lines.
Absolutely. Like I read Heavy Metal Magazine. It was like literally the first comic book related thing I ever read, and there you see the pages of Brooklyn Gladiator. That's Simon Beasley, and his art was all over Heavy Metal Magazine and all over, Lobo, which was a character that I really loved growing up. And it's so crazy because Heavy Metal, all of these, between Simon Beasley, Heavy Metal magazine, Heavy Metal the movie, um, they influenced a lot of the work that I do now. So Moon Lake, which is my Twilight Zone homage, that comes out with Heavy Metal as well. And oh wow, we have some funky art here. Yeah, uh, that's coming out, and it's basically was inspired by Heavy Metal the movie. And if you saw Heavy Metal the movie, that was the Lochnar, which was the narrator, who weaves his way through all of the short stories. And I thought, I'd love to someday do that. If I ever did a graphic novel, I'd love to have a narrator who weaves together all these different, Twilight Zone-y kind of tales. And my narrator is the man in the moon, and who is basically like Hitchcock on acid, essentially. he's he's literally the man in the moon, living in the moon, talking about all of these tales, telling the audience these stories that happen on Moon Lake, which is this place that's on the border of Canada and America, which is displaced from time and space, and it's a crossroads for many different brands of weirdness, and, and when you go there, it's you can't get out. It's like an endless rabbit hole, a labyrinth. So that was my first graphic novel, and so that came out in 2010, and I was with Archaea at the time, and I was signing at a Comic-Con, and I was very proud, and I took my first graphic novel over to Heavy Metal booth, and I gave them the graphic novel. I signed it, and I said, hey, this book is an homage to heavy metal, and so I'd love for you to have it. And they said, we like you. And they decided to basically let me just like squat at their booth every Comic-Con for the last 10 years. And so, it's just a dream come true for the kid who picked up the magazine off the shelf. And I've written stories in the magazine, and so now they're taking a big chance, and they're saying, hey, we really like what Dan's doing, and they want to support 3 of my titles. So Moon Lake is coming out, and then Brooklyn Gladiator is coming out. Brooklyn Gladiator is my dystopian sci-fi cautionary tale. And it's got Simon Beasley, who is, like I said, a big artist for heavy metal. Drew Lobo, which was one of my favorite characters growing up, anti-hero. So then I got Simon to do the interiors, and that was like just a dream come true. It's like it's amazing to be able to get to work with the people that you grew up reading, The other book I have. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Well, I was going to ask a question about actually thinking about this, going back to what you brought up with the Heavy Metal, the movie. And I'm sure you probably thought about, or at least had ideas about maybe if your graphic novels, became an animated movie or something like that. If so, who would you want to voice the Man in the Moon? Who would be the voice of that character?
Oh, it's a good question. I would like to do it. I did a movie called Hysterical Psycho, where this Moon Lake was born, and the Man in the Moon exists as an animation narrator throughout that film, and it's a real kind of campy horror, gore, and there's a bunch of friends go to Moon Lake, and one of them goes a little cuckoo. It's like The Shining, but he's like the funny Shining, essentially. He starts, killing everybody. And I thought, man, if I can tell this story that takes place at Moon Lake, why couldn't I tell, prehistoric tales at Moon Lake all the way through the present and all the way to the future. And so that's where the graphic novel came from. So in the movie, I was the man on the moon, and he sounds like this. Hello, welcome to Moon Lake. You know, he's just like he's a very weird kind of somewhere like a cross between Alfred Hitchcock and Stewie from Family Guy. It's like, that's how I think I would do it. But I have
Perfect.
a lot of, thank you. I have a lot of big plans about an animated show. And of course, I got a lot of friends who I could tap to do a lot of the voice talent. So that's in the works for sure. Very excited
awesome.
to be working. Yeah. I want all my stuff to be animated. I want to see live action. I want everything to, be turned into franchisable material.
Well, it's really incredible, what you've been able to come up with here. Like you said, pulling that magazine off the shelf in the original with Heavy Metal Magazine from your brother's collection, which I feel like that's where a lot of people found Heavy Metal Magazine. And then going from this, to now having your graphic novels come out on that. And I want to remind everybody, too, that these are coming out, being released coming up here. So for everybody who wants to pick up a copy, where should they go? Where would you recommend they pick these up?
I would go straight to the Heavy Metal Shop. It's heavymetalshop.com on the Heavy Metal site. And if you're braving your nearest comic book store, it's going to be on shelves all through I think all through August. So it's like the first one lands August 1st, and then the 8th, and then the 15th. So all through August, my books are going to be in comic book stores.
Nice. Well, Dan, congratulations. Thanks for taking some time to talk to us, too, from the UK. I don't even know what time it is there later on, I'm sure. But yeah, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Dan.
Oh, thank you for having me, man. Have a great day.
You too. Dan Fogler right here talking about his comics. That's pretty incredible. So, picking up a comic when you're a kid and then now getting that published, your graphic novel published on there. That's awesome. Dan Fogler right here on Digital Trends Lab. I know I need to get to a break, though. We've got Ronan Glahn, who's joining us next to talk about what is going on in the world of automotive technology. Stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler again. Thanks for joining us. We keep you up to date on what is going on in the world of technology, and that includes automotive technology. And there's a lot of things happening, including a big release coming up today from Ford. To talk about that and more, we've got Ronan Glahn joining us. Ronan, as always, thank you. And I can tell you, I know personally a number of people who are excited about the new Ford Bronco, but what should we be expecting here with this?
Yeah, it's an exciting vehicle. It's probably one of the most exciting reveals of 2020. And we've been hearing leaks, rumors, speculation about the new Bronco for years and years and years. Ford officially announced it in 2017. And the reveal is tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're starting to have a decent idea of what to expect from it. It's going to be a true Jeep Wrangler competitor. And I'm surprised that it's taken this long for somebody to take a shot at the Wrangler, which has kind of a monopoly on the off-roader segment. It's going to be available in as 2- and 4-door models. It's going to have, we've seen leaked images before. It has kind of a boxy retro look. It's inspired by the first generation Bronco, not by the O.J. Simpson spec Bronco. It's going to have round LED headlights, a removable top, removable doors, so just like a Wrangler, and lots of customization options. It's also going to be a true off-roader, so body on frame. You can go on the trail with it. You can tow. Ford hasn't announced much about the spec sheet. I'm expecting a turbocharged Ford engine and a V6 and of course it's a V4. There's also going to be a smaller Bronco because Ford wants to turn the nameplate into a full family of models. It's going to be called Bronco Sport, and you can think of that as kind of Ford's answer to the Jeep Renegade. So we're going to see that tonight as well. Reservations for the full-size Bronco open at 8 p.m. Eastern time, so anybody with $100 can reserve one. And deliveries are going to start. It's going to be a 2021 model, so I would say late fall 2020 or early 2021 at the latest is when you'll see them in showrooms. That's all we know so far, but everything is going to be revealed in a couple of hours.
Nice. Yeah, like you said, taking a shot at the Jeep Wrangler, that's a pretty big move, and it's surprising nobody's done it before. Okay, going from from the Ford Bronco, I know there's some other things that were revealed, including Audi with something coming up.
Yeah, Audi wants to launch over 20 electric cars globally by 2025. So that's in all markets, not just the US. It's a very ambitious plan, but it's also kind of starting to come to light. One of them is going to be the Q4 Sportback E-Tron, which was introduced online, of course, because there's no auto shows left. It's closely related to the Q4 E-Tron, which we've already spoken about on this show. It made its debut in 2019. And the Sportback kind of looks like a fastback on stilts, or if you want to, you could also call it an SUV coupe, which I don't like that term, but some people use it. It's inside, there's quite a few. The screens are oriented towards the driver, so it's a very driver-centric cockpit. And there's also a digital instrument cluster that you can configure using buttons on the steering wheel. What's interesting is because it's electric, there's no engine, there's no turbo 4 V6 under the hood, just rather compact electric motors. And the wheelbase is consequently rather long. So you've got a compact model with the interior space of a much bigger SUV. It has, I think, 301 horsepower, so one electric motor over the front axle, one over the back, and that's called through-the-road all-wheel drive because there's no drive shaft connecting the two axles. So what you saw on the screen is essentially what you'll get in showrooms in 2021. Production is going to start about halfway through next year, and I'm guessing the production model is going to make its debut in the spring.
Nice. So that's the new Audi, the Audi Q4 e-tron. Definitely interesting stuff. And I know we've got some stuff at digitaltrends.com too that people can go take a look at if they want to learn some more about what we're anticipating there. And let's final thing here. Let's talk about Waymo and just how companies are handling, the pandemic, what's going on with that, and then how they're getting back out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to say that ride-hailing is doomed right now because you're splitting a fare, but also possibly splitting germs. You have no idea who was in the car before you, or if you're sharing a ride, who was in the car next to you. And that's not ideal when you've got a highly contagious virus floating around. I spoke with Waymo, who argued that ride sharing is down, but not completely out because some riders just don't have a choice. We're talking about people who don't have a car for whatever reason or can't drive. So Waymo is carrying thousands of monthly users through its Waymo One program and its partnership with Lyft. about 1,000 and 2,000 rides weekly, and anywhere between 5 and 10% of them were fully driverless. So no driver, no engineer behind the wheel, just an autonomous car and the people riding in it. So the shutdown came at the worst possible time. It was ramping up its operations. Work continued. I mean, its engineers. I spoke with the company. They said its engineers developed hardware and software at home. Simulation is so realistic now that they can do that without having to travel to an office. Now, testing has resumed in some states, obviously with safety guidelines. Every employee has been trained, and Waymo is also disinfecting all of its prototypes. It hasn't started taking rides just yet, but it hopes that it soon will. And it's also taking suggestions from current, past, and future riders about how they want to share a car in kind of the post-COVID era. So if you have a suggestion, something that would make you comfortable or make you uncomfortable, you can reach out to the company, and it could implement your feedback into its program once it resumes.
Interesting. Yeah, that'd be kind of crazy to take one right now, just without a driver in there or anything like that. But definitely Waymo, coming back and trying this out. And as we see all these companies, attempt to change things up with the pandemic and everything else going on, it's interesting to see how it all goes. And we can follow along to digitaltrends.com for everything that Ronan keeps us up to date on. Ronan, as always, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Ronan Glahn right here on digitaltrends.com. And again, go there and follow along with everything he's doing. All right, coming up next, we've got an article that is up on Digital Trends right now talking about how creators are urging audiences to sustain social activism during all of this. And we're going to discuss that up next with Darcy Giles, a.k.a. Miss Darcy. She's going to join us. Stick around. Back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.